Hey, wellness seekers, welcome to our Take Charge of Your Life discussion. Our focus really is self-mastery and living an abundant life while we're living into our fullest potential. Our passion is to become, the best version of ourselves and really expand into who we were meant to be so that we live that full life. So I'm Roberta, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and a personal transformation specialist, and just really excited and passionate to share how to help how people can live fully in mind, body, and soul transformation so that we're living in every area of our life to our fullest, and really having that dynamic life that we came here for. This is my co-host Tish.
Hi, I'm Tish Taylor from Growth Centric Living. I am a mindset trainer and a transformation guide. Both of us are trained elite mentorship forum certified trainers under our mentor, Peter Sage. And agreeing with Roberta, we're on the same life path here of just assisting others in, shining some of our light and some of the things that we've learned over our own growth journey so that others might be able to come along and experience life more fully like we have.
Yeah, and to just introduce our mentor, Peter Sage. He's a incredibly dynamic soul that's done so much, but this is just some of his influence that he's had. He's a globally recognized human behavior expert. He's an author and a motivational speaker. He's very well known for his deep understanding of human behavior and self-mastery. He's a 6-time TED Talk speaker and a best-selling author with over 150,000 copies of his books in multiple languages. And really his mission is to provide individuals with mindset and tools necessary for personal growth and success, empowering them to achieve their highest potential. So I just heard a talk from him recently, and he was saying how, he thought he was an entrepreneur, but he discovered he was a teacher. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's had many, many businesses over the year, very, effective in what he does, but coming more into that realm of being teacher and how he can share his gift to the world to help raise global consciousness. So the structure of our call today is in 3 parts. The first one is living empowered, which is the mindset factor. The second is living healthy, which is our physical body and how that influences our life. And then living free in the soul realm. And Tish is going to share a video of Peter's for us to use as our focus of our content today.
So this video is from module 6 of our Elite Mentorship Forum, our signature product, which is a full 6-month transformation program. And it is a little clip here on the champion versus the criticizer, the 2 voices that we all hear within our heads. Let's see what Peter has to say about that.
Who's actually doing the talking? Have you ever wondered? Henry Ford famously said that whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. But who's actually doing the talking? Have you ever wondered that? See, we have 2 internal personalities. One that a lot of people are familiar with, which is called the criticizer, where we beat ourselves up, we judge ourselves to an imaginary standard. We're always finding fault based upon negative conditioning or hearing our mother in the background and when we were growing up, or many other different types of patterns. But people that really succeed don't succeed because they don't have that voice. They succeed because they listen to the other voice, the champion, the person inside of you that knows you can do it, that knows you were born good enough. Which one do you listen to the most, the champion or the criticizer? Because answering that question will determine the quality of your life from this point on. So, who are you most familiar with right now? Leave a comment below.
Tish, yeah, I think we can all 100% relate with what Peter shared, that champion and criticizer. For me, I've had that critical voice in my head so much of my life. That was such a dominant force. And like we go back to some of our previous talks, and we talk about conditioning and how we call that subconscious the elephant, that it's, takes up 95% of our functioning really, and how we show up in the world. And depending on how it's patterned and programmed, it really influences us so dramatically until we wake up to it and start intercepting that pattern of thought so that we don't just default to it every single day. And we know that the criticizer is very loud and judgmental, right? Those negative, repetitive patterns that we hear ourselves saying, and I catch myself, in those patterns too, depending on what's going on in my life. It's always convincing us that we have to stay small, that we can't make it, that we can't do it, that we're just not enough, maybe, which is kind of the most dominant fear that people have, is that they're not enough, and that criticizer is very committed to, getting us stuck in that space. And so when we contrast that with the champion, that's the inner coach inside of us, the voice that says, that we can grow, that we can evolve, that we can become that person that we're proud of, which is what the focus of Peter's work is too, that we want to, help people live a life they're proud of, that we're not just surviving and then we get to the end and we get out of here. We want to leave more than that for our children and the people behind, coming after us. We want to leave them an empowering mindset, really, of what life looks like. So yeah, that champion and criticizer, they are very active, ongoing every day in our lives.
It's very disheartening, really, and to know that most people are listening to the criticizer. And I've heard many different speeches and seminars that name it different things. I've heard it be like the negative Nancy, maybe it's the devil on your shoulder versus, the angel, or I'm trying to think of some other like creative names that people have suggested you give that criticizer, so that you understand that it's outside of you. It's not you. It's not your spirit that is putting you down, that is saying you can't or you're not good enough. That is not something that is part of us. That is, fear and ego kind of interrupting our patterns and trying to keep us safe, these survival instincts that we've talked a lot about. So we want to encourage you to choose that angel or your champion, the good voice inside you that's encouraging you to go forward and keep striving for better and more.
Yeah, we think about, I think too, of the people or, situations in life that programmed me the way it did into such a negative place. And those people, didn't know consciously what they were doing. They did the best they could, and realizing that I have to take responsibility for that, because, nobody else can reprogram me at my, as an adult except myself. Everything I listen to is programming me. So if I'm listening to media, I'm fear-based. The media is there to train us to be fearful and to cling to their next message. If I'm, listening to just my own voice and not hearing how sometimes, we need people to reflect back to us. I do anyway, my good qualities or my achievements, or just even, kind of reflecting on my, how I show up and how I've influenced them, or how, what a good friend I am, or whatever. Sometimes we just need to hear that from other people, because I didn't hear that growing up. There wasn't a lot of praise. It was mostly criticism. And so having people reflecting back, my good qualities, that's important. And being around people who can do that, that are going to build us up rather than tear us down, is a huge part of my reprogramming. Over the years, I've reached out to people when my head gets too dominant and my negativity feels so overwhelming that I just can't find the light. I reach out to people who can, build us up and really, make a difference and shift my perspective, so that I can grab a hold of something more positive and run with it.
That's powerful as we learn to build our champion up ourselves, because we want to be able to, give ourselves our pep talks and, get that from the inside world. But sometimes you're right in reaching out to somebody else when you're stuck with the criticizer. I've had some of those conversations, and I think I've even shared them on some of our discussions with others, to be like, my mind is saying this, is this true? Please help me. It's really nice to get somebody else's perspective sometimes, and just helping you kind of snap out of that criticizer. This is not real. This is a negative story that your mind is spinning. That criticizer.
Yeah.
Devil.
It's so dominant when you think 95% of our brain is subconscious. Really, we realize that is a powerful force. And rather than just giving into it, there's so many ways we can, intervene and choose a different direction. So I'm always kind of this rebellious energy that says, I'm not going to let it win. I'm not going to let my past win, or those people that program me not so great. I'm not going to, kind of turn over my life to that and just acquiesce to it. I'm pretty stubborn and determined that I'm going to, find that good version of myself, that champion version. So yeah, that's really a ongoing mindfulness practice, but it's well worth it.
That reminded me of the band Leonard Skinner. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Isn't that how they got their name in the first place? It's their teacher's name or something that told them that they wouldn't amount to anything. So what a great way to turn around a negative note from somebody else and turn it into a champion's voice instead.
Yeah, that's good. See, sometimes rebellion and anger is a good thing. It motivates us to, to take charge of our life and do what we know is best for our soul. So on that note, the tip for this section for the mindset is the next time you hear the criticizer speaking, just be more aware of it and awake to it and realize that you could ask yourself, what would my champion say instead? It's amazing that if we ask our brain something, it's going to give us an answer. And if we don't ask those questions to ourselves, we're just going to run on autopilot. So really stopping and thinking and even writing it down, saying it out loud, because we were programmed by somebody speaking out loud to us. So now to reprogram and to create a new program, it helps to say it out loud. Sometimes I'll record it on a voice recorder on my phone, something mantras or affirmations or, just different sayings that I pick up, things I want to remember to remind myself about so I can keep that programming ongoing so that it actually makes a difference, over time.
Excellent. So that leads us into our body or living healthy realms and tips. And here our champion and our criticizer affecting us as well. On the negative side, if we start with the criticizer, how many people are listening to that inner judgment, the sabotager who is saying things like we can't, or what, you're lazy, or what's the point, you're just going to give up next time anyway, you'll never lose weight, you'll never do this. Those are awful things to be saying to ourselves and programming our subconscious to believe that, because how do you be motivated then? How do you take care of your health? How physically even is your body supposed to react to its operating system having this negative energy sort of attached to it? So that versus the champion, which we want to implore you, think of your champion even as a coach that you hired to yourself, but this one lives in your mind. This one says things like, you have choices. You can just start again. That's okay. Leave yesterday behind you. Yeah, we lost that game yesterday, or we lost the match, but that was only one game, one match. We didn't go to the gym last week. That doesn't have to decide our future. We can still start here. We can keep going. You deserve to feel strong and energized. You're worthy already in your body to have health, and grateful, should be grateful to, or can be grateful to, have a body that we're experiencing this life with in the first place. All of those are much more empowering thoughts from our own personal champion coach that is internally supporting us through our health journey.
Yeah, this is a big area. I could really get on a soapbox here, but I'm thinking of how we think, our body, I always say our cells hear every thought we think. And so if we are claiming things like I have a disease, I am a diabetic, and we just kind of have that mentality and we just keep it as if, that's who we are. Like we had talked earlier, taking it on as an identity. That we just keep saying it's a negative concept, right? Who wants to keep a disease, right? We want to know that the body can heal itself. And so we can speak to it, just like I said, like other people spoke to us, we can speak to our body and give it that inspiration it needs, and just that belief and trust, knowing that, I can trust the body to heal me, and that I know you're healing me all the time, 24/7, whatever that voice needs to be to empower ourselves. I think it's really important to have that championing in our health, because otherwise we can default to what the culture says or what Google says. Like whenever you look up a disease, they often say there's no cause and there's no cure. Well, that's just simply not true. I mean, that's totally not true. So being able to empower ourselves and our champion on what our physical body can do and is doing is so much more, meaningful, obviously, and beneficial for our life experience than just succumbing to the negative concepts around physical health.
And this, when we talk about physicality, right, like there's proof of this. This is what's known really as like the placebo effect in the medical industry, in that, people that are not receiving any medication whatsoever, but believe that they are, right, are listening back to that champion of, I'm going to get healthy, this is going to heal me, I'm going to get better, and they do, right? There is all kinds of documentation of those kinds of things. So physically, whichever voice you're listening to is actually affecting your cells, like Roberta is saying. It's actually affecting your physical body and your health, and whether you're able to heal yourself or not. And then, unfortunately, we've seen the other cases too, where people, choose to believe doom and gloom, and are listening to more of a negative voice, like the criticizer, and sometimes are diagnosed with a disease that they wholeheartedly believe that their time is up, and it goes much faster than sometimes we would like, or somebody with more of a champion mindset. So we're really talking here about reprogramming your internal dialogue and building trust with your physical body. This motivates you to be consistent and to treat your body with loving care, to take care of your health and learn to improve your health by listening to that positive champion that is egging you on, helping you to believe that you can be healthy or do anything physically that you're wishing for yourself and for your future. The tip then, if we're ready for that, is to program your champion. And my suggestion is to do this every day by starting your day with this empowering statement. I am grateful for my body. It helps me experience life. My body is constantly in the process of regenerating and self-healing. And today I will choose to support my body and improve my health. And so you are free to use any kind of version of that. Pause this and listen to it as many times as you want. If you want to listen to this word for word, I do say things like this to myself daily as part of my affirmations. And I can feel the difference that it has even on my inspiration to want to be healthy and to change that programming within myself and make better choices throughout the day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thanking the body for all the work it does and keeping us alive, It's got a really important job, and it's really good to validate that and inspire ourselves with those empowering affirmations. So thanks, Tish. So our last section is the living free section, our soul, and wondering how does the champion and the criticizer affect our soul, affect us at a soul level, right? So if we want to really live free, we have to choose the voice, the one that's going to expand us into our full potential, like I said, not the one that limits us or keeps us bound. True freedom is living our soul path, or the direction that we were, what we were created for. I was thinking of this earlier, that when we are following that soul path, it's something that, we're doing things that we really love, that we're passionate about, that excite us, that make us want to get up every day. And I think of being stuck in a job that isn't feeding that, that survival, well, I have to do it because I need, the insurance, or I need this, or that's all I can do, just very limiting. And then we live out so much of I think about how much just a regular 9-hour, 8-hour a day job takes out of our life over 40, 50 years. It's incredible. So I think when we're not aligned with that soul path, we end up feeling more critical of ourselves. I think there's something inside that knows there's more. And I used to really be hard on myself too. It was like, I could just feel that I wasn't in the right place. And that really took a huge toll on my positivity, So that criticizer had a lot of space there too, because every day I was in an environment that I absolutely, at sometimes, hated, literally hated it. And so that was very contrary to my soul. And so that criticizer just had kind of it's almost like I was feeding it every day by showing up in a space that wasn't meant for me. And so really with this work, we want people to find their true direction, because, if we're here for a specific purpose and we spend our whole life and miss it, that would be, almost like we're having a negative frustration with ourselves. Like at some level, we know that we're not showing up the way we were meant to, or the way we have potential to do it. And so we end up, kind of criticizing ourselves because of that. So we really want to look in and think about how we can change our inner world to make those decisions by listening to the champion.
I think that's beautiful, the way you kind of have laid that out for us, in that our champion is really the voice of our intuition. It's the voice of our higher selves, our God, our loving universe that is, providing for us. So by tapping into that on a more regular basis and to learning to develop that inner voice, that champion that is egging us on to go for our dreams, to, shoot our shot and live fully into this life, what a different life that is. That makes me just like, I'm smiling just even thinking about it compared to, the doom and gloom that most of us or the majority of the world is living in. And, I feel like I'm stuck. I can't do any better in jobs, relationships, etc., because I can't see past that, because that criticizer has beat me down by so much in living in fear and, not being able to risk listening to that love and that champion and reaching for more out there. So we can't encourage you enough to work on this part. If you do nothing else and don't listen to any of our other discussions, at least do this part and listening to that voice and building yourself up and reaching for your dreams.
Yeah, that's really well said. And thinking of, choosing our champion over the criticizer is true soul freedom. That's what I know. There's decisions I've made where I was stuck and something came across my path, because I'm very determined that, that there'll be a solution that will present itself. I lean into that and I ask the universe, and I'm pretty tenacious to not let it not give me what I am seeking. I'm listening all the time, and things will come across my path, and then I have to make a decision, oh, here's an opportunity. But then fear can say, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can afford that, and really kind of try to talk me out of it. And so, like you said, taking a risk and stepping into something that we know is aligned. But when I've made those decisions, there was so much joy and excitement on the other side and inspiration. It was just like, I knew that I made the right decision. But just pushing through that negative old programming was super helpful, for this soul freedom path we can live authentically who we are, not having to customize our day every day to try to show up in a space that's not authentic. That's a lot of work, physical, mental, spiritual work, energy being drained out of us every day if we're not aligned with our path. So yeah, so with the tip for this one then is to, the next time you feel doubt or judgment rising, you can ask yourself, what would my soul say to me right now? And I just did a soul inquiry on a specific decision I just made yesterday on a business, involvement. And I went through this inquiry and asked questions about that, and it was just so perfect. So just having that simple question, what would my soul say to me right now? Would I be happier if I did do this, or would I be, happier if I didn't? And just those simple, thoughts, bringing them up and asking that question. It's amazing. I could feel the energy both ways. If I said yes to this, I felt really excited. If I said no, I could just feel myself getting kind of discouraged and sad and kind of feeling like I'm going backwards. And so very powerful, very simple. Yeah, so that would be your compass for your voice of freedom, asking those questions to yourself that are going to really help you feel out where you're at.
Excellent. I have had similar experiences too, and you're right, and you can feel when you're actually listening, when you take the time to kind of like slow down and ask yourself these questions, there's some emotion with it. There's some heart that comes from within that you can tell when you're on the right path, when you're moving towards what your soul really wants. So in summary, that's our 3 sections for this week's Take Charge of Your Life talk. It really all starts with mindset in listening to these 2 voices. We want you to know that there are 2. There's always a negative one, your criticizer, or whatever you want to call it. If it's easier for you, negative Nancy. I wish I could remember some of the other names that I thought for right now. And the positive one, your champion that is, egging you on and wants you to win, wants you to strive for what's best for you in life. And after your mindset, all of that flows right into the physical in how you're thinking and which voice you're listening to affects you physically. It does affect how your body heals itself, how your body reacts to certain things, and whether it can do its job or not, and whether it's being sort of blocked. And then all of that encompassing into our soul in wanting you to know that your champion really is your soul talking to you. This is your inner guidance system that is built and made of love and wants the best for you. So the more we can listen to that, the better. Our 3 tips are to catch yourself in listening to the criticizer and try to reword that for yourself. What would the champion say? To use an affirmation like I have provided for you for your physical body, and just being grateful for this body that you're in, and helping build that champion voice in being healthier and your body believing your body can regenerate and heal itself. And then lastly, in the soul realm, when you're looking or feeling doubtful and a judgment is arising, try to flip the script on yourself and ask yourself, what would the soul do? One of the things that our mentor Peter Sage all the time is that questions are the steering wheel of the mind. So hopefully we have given you some really powerful ones here in order to redrive your thinking and move away from the criticizer more often than not, and live in that champion voice, the voice of freedom.
Yeah.
Put all that together. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say our quote there in encompassing all of that into a few words that Peter started his video with here by Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right.
Yeah, so I hope you feel inspired by this little, tool. I mean, it seems like a simple concept that we can all relate to, but it is takes some mindfulness, but it's so worth it, like we had said earlier. And I think, like I said, each of us knows that inside there's more for us than just if we're just surviving and we're just in a kind of constantly trying to stay ahead of the chaos or the drama or the negativity in our life. We know that that's not all there is for us. That's not what we're proud of. So we want to, find that definitive path that's going to help us live fully and not stay small. So like the Elite Mentorship Forum is that journey. It's that deep transformational experience that creates that lasting change and helps us to align with it. There's such a better feeling every day in my soul when I know that I'm on the right path. For years, it's like, I didn't know what I wanted to be till I was 48 years old, in a certain capacity. I mean, I was just like, oh, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And it is tragic to see people live out their whole life and not really live into their potential. Most of us can see in others more potential, right? If they're feeling down and they're feeling stuck, we can see so much potential in them. And I guess that's what this work really does. It reflects back to you your greatness and invites you and gives you the tools to come forward and, to discover that and take that journey and really expand and find that best self. So it's an exciting process.
Right. So, yeah, feel free to reach out to us. We do have lots of programs that expand on this if you're enjoying our tips. And we'll be back next week with another talk on how to take charge of your life.
Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you next time.